Welcome back to Writing and Reading the Declaration of Independence. In this talk, we're going to be looking at Thomas Jefferson in preparation in 1775 when he participated in writing the Declaration of the Causes and Necessity of Taking Up Arms. Now, there was no going back in 1775. Just before the Congress started meeting, the battles of Lexington and Concord had taken place. That was April. The year before, the British had passed the coercive acts that closed the port of Boston and generally made life so difficult for the people in Massachusetts. There was just no way anything was going to go backward. But not everybody was in agreement, and the way that the Congress had to work was with unanimity. John Adams, one of the leading activists, understood that that was what had to happen. And he was one of the people who wanted to give the more reluctant people one more chance. The Congress authorized John Dickinson and Thomas Jefferson to take that one more chance and write the Declaration of the Causes. John Dickinson was highly respected amongst the delegates, and indeed after the war he went on to become governor of 2 states. But he was a pacifist and really did not want to engage in war. Jefferson, of course, felt quite differently. What happened was that Jefferson worked with Dickinson for a short while, long enough to write a few paragraphs, and then it had enough. Jefferson was never a team player when it came to writing assignments. And Jefferson's contribution to the causes are in the final paragraphs, and that's what we'll be looking at. Jefferson's prose had almost reached the degree of refinement that we will find in the Declaration of Independence. Here's how his contribution started. We are reduced to the alternative of choosing an unconditional submission to the tyranny of irritated ministers or resistance by force. The latter is our choice. We have counted the cost of this contest and find nothing so dreadful as voluntary slavery. And he went on to say, our cause is just, our union is perfect, our internal resources are great, and if necessary, foreign assistance is undoubtedly attainable. At the very end of his contributions, his 4 paragraphs, he says this. In our own native land, in defense of the freedom that is our birthright, and which we ever enjoyed to the late violation of it, for the protection of our property, acquired solely by the honest industry of our forefathers and ourselves. Against violence actually offered, we have taken up arms. We shall lay them down when hostilities shall cease on the part of the aggressors, and all danger of their being renewed shall be removed, and not before. Stirring words, to be sure, and vintage Jeffersonian, but let's take a look at them. That great phrase, our cause is just, our union is perfect, that begs a little inspection. The cause had widespread agreement, that's for sure, although there were still people who prefer to avoid war. But this bit about our union is perfect, that is hard to interpret. Indeed, the Union barely existed. The Continental Congress had based its power on activist elements that had made their way from the various colonies, and it had to agree unanimously on everything. As far as the colonies were concerned, they were really quite different. As you went from north to south, they covered a lot of different organizations and economic interests. The Articles of Confederation would not be agreed until 1781, even though they kicked in a de facto way in 1777. But the Confederation would prove so unwieldy that the Revolutionary War was almost lost, and it would ultimately take what amounted to a coup to replace it with a workable government. As far as internal resources, yes, they were great, but the colonies were not self-sufficient by any means. They needed to import, and in order to import, they needed cash, and they needed some friends on the sea so that the British could not wipe out their ships. Foreign assistance would be attainable, but it was not entirely clear just how that was going to happen. And it would take the French to step in to do it. Those rousing words of Jefferson, though, they did make a lot of difference, and certainly we have him to be thankful for in his manly style.